Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stat cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of those lies as Arjun act like he's surprised. My Dodgers, man. I'm gonna go ahead and start it off since this is probably the most energy you're gonna get out of me right now. The Dodgers have just kept their hope alive for getting that championship. It's been a long time coming, and Atlanta has us where, you know, they got us on our backs, and it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. But we got the W today in a nice, winning, demanding fashion. It was a great game, regardless of if you're a Dodger fan or not. It was a solid game. We may have suffered an injury to one of our key players, but, you know, we'll move forward from that. And now the score, or overall series, is 3-2. 3-2. We got another one tomorrow and Sunday, man. And we just need to bring it home.
Yeah, just to clarify, Don means 3-2. Atlanta is up currently. But we have a really good shot. I mean, I saw the game today in its entirety, 7-3. It was brilliant.
Oh, you watched the whole game?
6th and 7th innings. 6th and 7th innings were brilliant. I mean, the 3 runs, I mean, come on. That was just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I think I'm always cautiously optimistic about the Dodgers. I mean, I watch them religiously all season and every year, especially the first season. And I know that they always come close. You know, they build up my expectations.
Always.
They build up my hope. But something happens every year, man. And for this win to happen when it did, it's fantastic. We were pretty much, as Don said, backs up against the wall. Yeah. Elimination time. We had to deliver, and we did, thanks to our guys. And there were a lot of doubts about Kershaw and everything, but I believed in him. I still believe in him.
You know, he didn't play today, though. He didn't play today.
You know, I still believe in him for the next game.
There we go. Okay.
You know, I think tomorrow at almost 1:38 p.m., I'll be tuned in. I'll be glued to the TV. And, you know, Don knows this probably more than anybody. I bleed Dodger blue.
There we go.
You know, from day one.
There we go.
However you define day one.
Yeah.
I bleed Dodger blue.
I believe, you know, we could start off right now, day one. It's a pretty good day.
we could start off with day one today, that's true. And day 3 might be on Sunday. Because it seems like this will go 7. I just have this feeling.
I hope so. I hope so.
But I also think it's rather unfair that in baseball, at least in this season, it looks like they have to play every day in the finals.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Typically, what they'll do is they'll have back-to-back games and then have that one travel day to transition cities based off of the respective teams. But unfortunately, due to the new norm that we live in, known as COVID, we don't really have that. And to make things even more interesting, we're playing in damn Texas right now in the Rangers field. So it's definitely an interesting setup. But it's a good field to play in. It's a deep field, meaning that, you know, when you score a home run, you got to really earn it. It's not one of those quick 200-yarders. Yeah, you know, you got to hit 400 at least and hope to God that fielder doesn't have a vertical larger than LeBron James, which some of them do. So. And
speaking of LeBron James, we have to congratulate.
Oh, you like that, by the way? You like that, by the way? I'm gonna
love the setup. You're very much the Lonzo Ball of this tandem, this duo.
Oh, that's.
Was that a diss?
I think that was like a high five into a backhand right there. That was interesting. But no, I think Don set me up beautifully because LeBron James is now a 4-time Finals MVP, winning his 4th ring with none other than the greatest basketball franchise ever, the Los Angeles Lakers. Sí, señor. Sí se puede.
And congratulations to the Lakers, of course, for winning the title against Miami in Game 6. It was a harder than anticipated series, especially in the early parts. I didn't know that the Lakers would struggle so much after Game 1. I kind of thought, okay, this is going to be a sweep after Game 1 with all the injuries, especially.
Sure.
But Miami, if anything, I learned that Jimmy Butler is a real leader.
He's a dog. He is a dog. He is.
Yes.
He is a dude that will go to the end of the world for his team. And nothing but respect. His stock value has greatly increased. He's no pandemic P. He is nothing but badass Jimmy B. It is fantastic to see him flourish as he did. I think we all knew it, but we didn't accept it. And he gave us, the proof is in the pudding. Look at the numbers. Even with number 2 and number 3 out of his team, he was able to fill those people's shoes. And, no matter how cramped up he was, he had a smile on his face and he was ready for each and every game, more or less. It's
absolutely. He even sprained his ankle at one point in Game 1. And I kind of thought, oh, crap, this might be a long-term type of thing. He might not be quite 100%. But the fact of the matter is, at this point in the finals, at this point in the playoffs, who is 100%? Nobody is. Everybody's kind of...
Dudley?
Okay, if you don't play, then yeah, you're 100%. But as far as the people who play damn near 40 a night, Jimmy Butler, man, my hat's off to him, as Don said. And I will defer from Don in this one regard. I was always a believer in Jimmy B. I think
you never drafted him in any of our fantasy leagues, man.
That's true, because he wasn't that great in the regular season compared to other people around that same position. But I will say there was a time when the Lakers had a lot of money and a lot of cap space, and they could go for 2 max free agents. You guys remember this. This was probably 2 seasons ago. And, of course, they got LeBron and they got AD through some trading. But my preference would have been a combination, if they could, Jimmy Butler and Kawhi Leonard. I think that duo at the time made perfect sense to me, because I know this season the Warriors were nothing. They were out of the playoffs, but every year the Warriors were in the finals, like for 4 straight years, and it was so annoying. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a way to stop them. And especially if we play in the same conference, what better way than to have these 6'7", 6'6" versatile wing defenders that can play D, that can shoot, that can play make, that can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that to me was the vision of a Warriors beating team. Alas, that did not happen. Jimmy Butler went to a couple different teams since then. LeBron James came, and Lonzo was shipped out. Unfortunately, we kept the worst.
Fortunately.
Well, some of us may disagree.
I mean, honestly, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lonzo in the future wearing purple and gold again. I think Rich Paul is going to work some wonders. Being Lonzo's new agent, and I don't know when Lonzo's contract is up, but I wouldn't be surprised, depending on where he stands, to garner a contract with the Lakers. If he could get KCP, aside from his performances these playoffs, which was amazing. Shout out KCP, hit some good shots for us, necessary shots throughout the postseason for us. If he could get KCP the amount of money he did with the caliber of play he was at, I'm sure he could do the same wonder with Lonzo in the future. So
he could, but here's the problem. I don't think the Lakers could really need or use Lonzo Ball.
Well, I'm not saying immediately. Actually, there's the possibility we'll need an additional ball handler. Because there are talks. I mean, of course, our ball handler number 1 is none other than the king himself, LeBron James.
Alex Caruso. Oh, come on. I thought you were going to say Caruso.
Well, he is the starting shooting guard of a championship team. So,
hell yeah.
It feels good to say.
But continue.
But I think Rondo's contract is up right now. So he's due some money. And he, I would say, is... I'm trying to think of other ball handlers that we have on the team that could fill those shoes that Rondo fills, because Rondo deserves some more money, and he's probably going to try to aim for a mid-level amount, given his performance and his proof that he still has at least that high caliber play during the playoffs. what, Cook is up. Who else is another point guard that we have? Bradley, I think, is maybe on a... I think his contract is up too, right? Or do we have him for one more year?
I don't really care about these insignificant players. I'll say this. Rajon Rondo, I don't know if he's ring chasing at this point of his career or if he just wants to cash out with one big payday. I think if I were him, I think it's more important for him to actually get one big payday from some team that
totally
was so impressed by his playoff dough experience and says, you know what, he would be great as a sixth man. He would be great as like a backup to a Trae Young.
Well, I would even say a starting point guard for those teams that need a starting point guard.
No, I don't think any team would make him a starter.
I'm too drunk right now to go through the
Come
teams.
Up with names. That's okay. I'll finish.
Sacramento Kings. New York Knicks.
Sacramento Kings have De'Aaron Fox.
Okay.
So absolutely not for that one. New York Knicks, yeah. I mean, anybody could be starting. You could be starting the New York Knicks. That would be a noticeable improvement.
Well, thanks for the improvement shout out. Hell yeah. Hey man. Hey,
go.
I forget his name. What's the dude's name over there? That makes all the calls.
James Dolan?
Yeah,
James
Dolan. Hey, if you're looking for a point guard, shooting guard, ball warmer, anything, assistant coach, I'm there, man. Send me up.
Ball warmer, huh?
You caught on to that one?
I didn't know they hired for that position.
Hey, I'm just saying, it gets cold in New York every now and then, man. It gets cold.
Oh, I'm sure. You need somebody to come in and cup those balls.
I will come in early for that, and I will leave late. I will get the job done.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Well, again, going back to the Lakers, I wanted to ask you this one thing. You know how every time a team wins a championship,
sure,
they have all this celebratory gear, like championship gear, up for sale.
Yeah.
Were you tempted to buy anything this year?
I was tempted, but I did not bite the bullet. Reason being, I got too much shit to fucking pay for right now.
Of course, I understand. Well, you might be surprised to hear that I actually did buy something.
Ooh.
And let's just say
you sure it was the LA Lakers, not the LA Clippers?
It was the correct team, yes.
Okay,
it was the Lakers. And
sure.
you might be surprised, you might be getting something in the mail in January.
Ooh, January?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's like, ooh, wait, what? Well, it's because for whatever reason, this thing that I ordered, it's not going to be made until later. So I think, you're going to have to wait a little bit on that. Don't worry, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy. But
I'm excited for it.
Just something I think... real Laker fans like yourself and myself, I think you're going to appreciate it. So,
hey man, I appreciate the championship ring. I will wear it proudly.
Of course.
I'm looking forward to it.
And how did you know I basically bought Dion Waiters' ring?
Hey,
how did
you know what? Because dude needs money, man. Dude needs money.
Because you know why I bought his ring, right? I could easily etch out the eye, and it'll be done. Huh? You see what I did there? There you go.
I like that. Oh, that was good.
Wait until January, my friend. You will get it in the mail for sure. So shout out to the Lakers for sure. I'm proud of them. It is great to see Lakers back on top. I mean,
sure.
I'll be honest with the fans here. I would say my peak basketball viewing period is probably over. Like back in college days, undergrad, I used to watch as much as possible. I used to watch every TNTs inside the NBA, almost every Laker game at night, and it was great. It was really, really great. But back then, we weren't winning. Back then, it was like the downturn, right? Like it was after Kobe Bryant. Well, actually, let me take that back. In my junior year, was it 2011? I think it was. That's when it all started going downhill. We had come off 2 huge championship wins. One against Dwight Howard's Orlando Magic in 2009, and one getting revenge against Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Rajon Rondo in 2010, which was fantastic. Went to Game 7, and I distinctly remember this because I was driving home for Game 7, and the idea was I think I would meet up with you, Don, at a yard house somewhere, but I apparently went to the wrong yard house. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I just want to watch the game. I don't even know if I have room. Let me just drive home as quickly as possible.
Sure.
And with like minutes to spare in the fourth, I got to see the end of it, and that was nice, the whole celebration and everything. But since then, it has been a rather long drought period, and we had to suffer through the likes of Robert Sacre. We had to suffer through.
What do you mean?
Remember him?
No, I remember him, man. How can you forget his dance? He had so many memes. He is. I'm sure he's playing professional ball somewhere. Not in the States, but somewhere. I mean, 10 years isn't that long. We are blessed to have a strong franchise, you know?
Yes, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Like I'm being a spoiled Laker fan right
now. There we go.
You know, like I'm perfectly objective about this. I understand that certain franchises have never won. And we look at Cleveland. Cleveland won one time in 50 years?
Yeah.
And they'll likely never win again unless LeBron, there's a LeBron 2.0 that's born in Akron, Ohio.
Bronny.
Bronny maybe. We actually, I doubt that Bronny will be as good as his father because it never works out that way. But I'm looking forward to it. Whenever Bronny does enter the NBA, if he does, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see Dwayne Wade's son, Shaq's son. It's always interesting to me to see the sons of very famous players, how they fare. But digressing a bit, it's just cool to see them back because I used to be of the mindset that, it's only right that the Lakers should be in the playoffs every year. It's only right that they should be in the finals every year. I thought that was the norm. And for a long time, at least in my, younger viewing days, it was.
Yeah, you were spoiled. You were spoiled in the beginning with the greatness of Kobe Bryant. Because prior to Kobe, there was a team prior to you even watching, after the Magic era, that kind of had the same ordeal that we had faced for the past 10 years. That was led by a duo of, or trio actually, of Vlade Divac, Nick Van Exel, and Eddie Jones, with some splattering of Eldon Campbell in there, who I never understood why we kept him at a young age, but we did because he was a big body. It's interesting, man, that we're tied now for the highest, or rather the most successful franchises when you gauge success by number of championships. 17 for Boston and 17 now for our Lakers. It's I would say it's more likely for the Lakers to surpass the Celtics immediately, the next 2 years to get that other chip. What do you think about that? Do you think the Celtics have a chance next year or the following year to get the chip?
So this year, Boston lost to Miami in 5?
Sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Lakers are probably a slight favorite to win again next year, but only slight because there's a lot of new teams that are going to come up next season that weren't around this year. Brooklyn and also the Warriors, and more so than anything, the Warriors scare me because we haven't seen Curry, Clay, Draymond, and whoever they get, maybe LaMelo or somebody else with the first overall pick. Wait, do they have the first overall or top three?
I believe they have 2 or 3. Okay, let me look that up while you talk.
Sure. So they have a top 3 pick, and they'll get somebody good. Maybe they'll trade him for a star. Who knows what they'll do? And now that I think about it, a potential trade scenario could be with that pick.
Number 2
pick packaged with, let's say, like I don't know who, like maybe a Draymond Green for a Giannis, perhaps. I wonder if that money would work out. But speaking of trade scenarios, I know, Don, you wanted to get into some interesting.
Oh yeah. It's been the talk for the past I would say this past week after the normal, LeBron downplay and the talk of the championship and all that. There's been word and rumor going around that the Lakers may finally get to be privileged to dress Chris Paul in the purple and gold. There's a couple trade scenarios where it works, and those are, that I could remember off the top of my head, involve some trades. It would, of course, include a conditional first-round pick. I believe next year's pick is conditionally set to New Orleans if it's 1 through 7. So if it falls between 1 through 7, it would automatically become a 2022 pick. But that pick compiled with Danny Green. Who's the other person? Danny Green, someone else, and then a rotation of Caruso so Danny Green, Kuzma, and then it would be like Caruso or some other person in order to acquire Chris Paul. I think it works for both sides. If you believe in what's his name? What's the dude that pissed us off a lot? Kuzma. If you believe Kuzma will flourish in the future.
As you know, I am 100% on board with this trade because I think nothing of Kuzma. I think he is a reminder. You know what he is to me, and this is just a personal thing. To me, Kuzma is a reminder that we gave up Lonzo Ball. Every time I see Kuzma, I think, wow, this is the guy that we kept.
Sure.
This is the guy that we kept, a guy that can't hit a shot to save his life, a guy that doesn't play good defense, a guy that jumps on every single pump fake. Like, my God.
Sure.
How is the same person faking you out twice in the same possession? Like, come on. But, I think if there's a way to get Kuzma out of the Lakers, whatever we get back, I am on board for that, for sure. And if you're telling me we can give up Danny Green, who was, let's face it, abysmal in the bubble, absolutely abysmal. If we can give up Danny Green, Kuzma, and somebody else, I would like to keep Caruso for obvious reasons, but if it's a Quinn Cook or something, right? Hell yeah, let's do that, and let's put all the picks in. Let's give them all the picks. I would take on Chris Paul's money. I know Chris Paul is owed a fictitious amount of money for the age that he's in. I think he's probably owed about $45 million.
Yeah, but then given his playoff performance and his leadership, I think, it's definitely up there in the price tag point. But he's a true leader that can stand, on the same level that LeBron James commandeers. Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. They're friends, but then when it comes to business, that friendship can quickly erode. And I, as much as I would want Chris Paul, let's say best scenario, it all works out, we get another superstar and all that. As much as I'd want that to happen, who in their right mind is going to take an overpaid shooting guard in Danny Green, and just a somewhat budding star that has yet to even, break ground?
Don't you dare call Kuzma a somewhat budding star.
He's not a star. He hasn't even broken the ground. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, he has. Dude, no, I completely disagree with this take that you just did. And let me tell you why. Kuzma has reached his potential. He has reached his potential.
Yeah. See, like you I know you're gonna dig him even deeper. Leave him alone. He's young. He's a kid.
Okay.
He's younger than us.
You know what? You said the magic word there. He is a child. And I should not.
Yeah, if you're gonna get an emoji tattooed close to your heart, that 100, right? You got issues.
My God! Like his I saw. Okay, so he was shirtless in the championship celebration. I think in the podium sequence.
Yeah, he saw JR, so he's like, "Yep, got to."
Yeah, he copied JR for sure. That's his vet. But I was looking at his tattoos, and he actually has Kuzmania tattooed on his clavicle. And Kuzmania was probably a more recent nickname. Like, I'm sure nobody in college called him that.
Yeah.
And so I just thought to myself, like, wow, like what kind of person actually tattoos like an own, self-given like moniker or something, It's just weird to me. But enough Kuzma hate. I think I can hate on Kuzma until the cows come home, until Brexit is done, until we have a president elected.
Yeah. And I think what it's going to come down to is for OKC to even begin conversations with the Lakers on a possible trade, there's going to have to be a lot of draft picks that is going to erode our future.
I disagree. Here's why. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder would love to get out of Chris Paul's huge contract. I'm sure they tried to trade him. I really do. I think they genuinely tried to trade him. And they realized that nobody would take on that much salary for that many years. But now, I think it's kind of a win-win. Because look, Danny Green, he's signed for what, one more season? Yeah. So he's an expiring contract.
Yeah.
You look at the other guy, Kuzma, I don't even give a damn. Just put him in there. And then a Quinn Cook or somebody else, I don't even know if they're expiring contract or they'd have to do a sign and trade. But it seems like an ideal situation for OKC. Because look, who else would willingly take Chris Paul? Answer that question.
Miami?
No. Why would they?
No, I'm just trying to think of any team that would take him. Knicks, of course, obviously would, but I'm thinking contenders now.
Knicks would give them the entire franchise.
What about Portland?
Portland? What? No. Why would you do that? You have Damian Lillard, man. Okay, so clearly Don does not.
What about the Clippers? Because they are trying to get rid of Paul George, or rather, they're not trying to get rid of him. Wink. But the only untouchable on the Clipper team is Kawhi.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Chris Paul would want to go back to the Clippers. I think that chapter of his life is closed.
So just go down the street away from him.
No, to be honest, like now that I think about it, and I'm really glad you brought this up. It's a very excellent topic that you brought up today.
You're welcome, buddy.
Thank you. I would actually want to get Chris Paul's jersey if he came to the Lakers. I did not feel that way about LeBron. I did not feel that way about AD, as much as I like and respect their game. Chris Paul to me was always one of my favorite players.
And I think that's a homage that you're paying to Chris Paul, as you were a fan of Lob City. I was a fan of Lob City. I'm not trying to, call you a Clipper fan, even though you are one. But he's an exciting player that is well respected. I think is he the president of the Players Association right now?
Well, from this non-Clipper fan's perspective, I'll tell you that yes, he is the president.
And what shoes to follow then none other than our buddy Derek Fisher, who used to be the president of the Players Association. I think Chris Paul is one of the few names that, even if he's playing on the other side of the ball, meaning, he's playing for the opposite team that you root for, you respect. So I can see that happening, Chris Paul joining, you getting a jersey. I won't give you shit for it.
I think it proved to Laker fans and also the Lakers front office, the management, Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, that if you do have a very elite point guard next to LeBron James, it can only do good things for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you saw LeBron not only respected Rondo, but he relied on Rondo.
Mm-hmm.
He really depended on Rondo, especially when LeBron was sitting on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were together, man, like Rondo looking for LeBron on the lob or on a cut, whew, I mean, that is exciting basketball to me. And Chris Paul can do the same thing, maybe even better. And Chris Paul can be more dynamic because he can shoot while dribbling. Rondo doesn't really do that too much. So I'm all for it. I don't care how you make it happen. I would love to see that. And I think, to be honest with you, I think it would make me more passionate about the Lakers.
Sure.
If that were to happen.
I think regardless of whether or not we get Chris Paul, this upcoming season is going to make us more passionate, because now we have the throne. Everyone's coming for us. Not that they weren't already. I think having LeBron James on your team already puts a target on your back, forehead, heart, basically all over your body. But now that we also wear the crown of the league, of the world, everyone's going to be coming for us. And I think in the age now that we're in, where it's been duo-headed monsters, reestablishing the triple-headed monster is the way to really try to impose dominance on the league. And I think this is probably the best way to compete next year, given the uncertainty around, whether your Giannis is going to be wearing the ugly blue and gold or blue and yellow, or the ugly red and black in Houston, or I hope he stays in green, but
me too.
I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting year, and I think we'll see what happens, man. Next year is going to be full of a lot of exciting things. And one thing that I know that you're going to be excited about for next year is the results of the presidential debate, man. Did you watch the town halls that we had? What was it? Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, right?
Great segue. And yes,
I'm getting better, dude. Oh, hey, dude, I gotta drink more, dude.
I'm really happy for you. I'm actually grinning from ear to ear as you were the last 30 seconds, because I knew what was happening. I knew you're percolating in your mind a little bit, like, all right, how did we get there?
Oh, dude, I was like a little train that could, dude. I'm like, you got this, Don. Keep going. You got this. Shovel more coal, buddy. Shovel more coal.
Keep shoveling that coal. That's right. I did have the opportunity to catch up on both town halls.
Oh, look at you, man. Extra credit.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this. I watched the Trump one first. And it's because I knew that was going to be more entertaining.
Sure.
I did want to watch both, for sure. So I saved the Biden one for later. As I was going to sleep, I think I left it on. But I will say, before we get into the town halls, sure, I do want to touch a little bit on the VP debate that happened the week prior.
Sure.
This was actually coinciding with our podcast episode last week, and because I tend to work a little bit later, I tend to get off a little bit later than the D. We opted, not to cover the Veep debate that particular week and save it for today. So we're doing that now, and I'll tell you this much: it surprised me. It surprised me because going into it, I thought, you know what, this is just going to be a reversal of what we saw in the first presidential debate, where instead of the Democratic challenger getting bulldozed by the Republican incumbent, now we're going to see the Democratic challenger in Kamala Harris really attack and stay on the attack against a rather monotone and maybe uninteresting Mike Pence.
Sure.
But what I did observe was Mike Pence is a better debater than I ever anticipated him to be.
Oh, sure.
He was very much in line with party politics. He was very much, I would say, copying what Trump would do in those situations, employing the usual tactics, attacking the left, always answering the question that he wants to answer, not necessarily the one that's been asked of him. And I think Kamala was solid, but I expected a bit more. I thought she would be a little bit more incisive and exacting with her attacks against the Republican Party and her facts and her details. I am objectively saying this, not biased at all. I think it was close, but I would give it to Pence. I think Pence won that debate, and a lot of people were kind of impressed by the debating style of Pence, not necessarily saying that he was right and vindicated in everything that he was saying, but just the manner by which he carried himself, and he really gave it to Kamala. I thought that was a great performance by him.
Sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Pence was a little more solid. He's usually been a bit on the quiet side when it comes to, I guess, just in general, getting in front of the camera, given that his the president basically garners the whole spotlight. But I think Pence ultimately won for one thing, and the only thing that can come to mind is it was a talk of the town that a fly landed on Pence's head, and he did nothing about it. Though that is very comedic, and we could laugh about it and joke about it, as all the media did, that is exactly the reason why I believe it added more fuel to the Republican wagon. Reason being, Kamala had some great points that were brought up. She did well on the stage, I would argue. Well enough to at least stand toe-to-toe to the Vice President, Pence. And instead of talking about those issues, media decided to make fun of Pence because of the fly on his head. Rather than spreading, the good information that was said on that stage, they decided to make a mockery of the whole thing by talking about a damn bug that landed, unfortunately on our vice president's head. I don't remember much when it comes to the actual debate aside from Kamala. Am I saying correctly? Is Kamala?
I usually just go with Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. KH. We'll call her KH.
No.
KH.
Just go with Kamala.
Kamala Harris. All right. Former DA of California. KH. See how I just said, fuck it, whatever, I'm going with what I wanted to do?
Yeah, because you're right all the time.
No, I think she commanded the stage very well and showcased that she can be outspoken when she needs to be and be firm whenever.
Here's the thing, man. I agree with everything that you're saying, but those were table stakes. I think we all expected that. I expected more from her.
Sure.
I thought that, all of the points you're making, that's the baseline. That's the bare minimum I would expect from Kamala.
Yeah.
I wanted to see something more for her to really shine.
Sure.
But I thought that she was just okay. She wasn't proficient at anything, really. Well, I take that back. I think for certain topics in the debate, I think when it came to the criminal justice system, obviously, as you said, KH from California being the former DA.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to KH. Not to be confused with Carrie Hilson.
Or Kingdom Hearts.
Or Kingdom Hearts, a game I never played, and we never will. But Don clearly played it, and it's close to
life changer, man, life changer.
Well, okay, maybe for some, and maybe for our guest next week. But that's a topic.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up. I didn't want to though.
I'm so proud of you.
Not enough hentai in that one.
There's plenty of coal. There's plenty of coal coming into your engine. But no, I will make one observation about what I witnessed. Looking at Kamala in that debate, I got reminded of, back in school, there was always that one very hardworking, kind of a try-hard, if you will.
The Arjun of the class?
No, not exactly.
Okay,
not exactly.
Okay.
Try-hard that was always kind of the teacher's pet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And, whenever another student would get in trouble, the teacher's pet would be like, yeah, that's right. Because that's wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. It's kind of like that. And I thought Kamala was getting super excited every time the moderator was telling Pence to stop. You're done. Okay, Mr. Pence. Okay,
it was a little immature and definitely at times childish.
I wouldn't describe it quite as immature or childish. I would say it's more like it's very revealing of Kamala's personality. I think she's actually I would say she's kind of a fun personality in general.
Sure.
I think she gets along with everybody really well, and people tend to like her, which is great. I think in politics that's really, really great. But it also comes off a certain way to me, particularly. I think it seems like, she's kind of like the goody two-shoes a little bit, she likes it when other people get in trouble. She likes it when she's doing
doesn't?
But I guess so. I guess maybe this is one of those little nitpicking points I'm making.
Oh man,
really isn't a point to me.
I mean, I don't know if
here comes the I see.
The coals. I ran out of coal, dude. I slipped.
Running on fumes at this point, my friend. But with that being said, as we all know, VP debate is never interesting.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't even watch Biden versus whoever the hell he went up against last time. I just don't really give a damn about these VP debates at all. Sure. But this one I cared a little bit more about because of Kamala Harris. I think it is always worth watching and also admiring from afar to see what Kamala was able to do. She fought hard to become president. She failed. She didn't poll very well, but she found an avenue. She was smart enough to be like, you know what? I can still find a way to get on that ticket by joining forces with the leader of the Democratic Party, Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah, man.
And to me, I find that very ambitious, and I give her a lot of credit because if things work out a little bit, Kamala Harris could eventually be the face of the Democratic Party for years to come.
Sure.
And for that, I think it's a great achievement, and also the fact that I believe she's half Indian from her mother's side.
Yes, I was going to ask that question, but I didn't want to play the race card, so.
Well, as you should though. You should. I mean, it's common for people of your tribe. It's a common card that's played by certain political factions, which we will not get into.
Oh, Jesus!
A great one. But I think it is a historical achievement for Kamala Harris to be the first person of color in a major party ticket, and also handling herself very well. She proves. Every time she's on the stage, every time she's giving an interview, she proves to the world that she does belong in the political sphere at this highest level. Whether or not you like her, that's secondary, because everybody has haters, right? Trump has haters. Trump has, people who vote for him every 4 years, like, one of the people on the podcast. And, Pence is around too. Pence may be gaining some fans after that last debate. To your earlier point, though, about The Fly.
Sure.
I mean, come on, dude. Of course everyone's going to be talking about The Fly. The damn thing was on his head for 2 minutes. It was very obvious.
Yeah, and SNL even made a whole skit about it, which is hilarious.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Oh,
they did.
To watch.
But, it was kind of poor taste, but it was entertaining. It's a damn fly. It fucking happens. I don't even want to pay heed to it because shit happens, and Pence could have done one of many things to it, but rather than focus on something insignificant like that fly, you just focus on the debate. Focus on the issue at hand.
I think you expect too much from the American audience. I think.
Well, yeah, dude, of course, man. I mean, what kind of person would I be sitting on this pedestal of being a podcast host with you if I didn't expect more of our listeners, man? I expect people to pay attention to what matters, not the nonsense that comes out of the A's mouth from time to time. Listen to the truth that these preaches all the time. Don't worry about the flies in the room.
Let's not mix up the lyrics. SoCal
DNA coming in live. What is
That's
it, 10 o'clock on a Friday night?
I'm thinking of the last couple of bars, actually. I'm thinking of listen to Love Don't Fly.
Let's remember who's keyword.
And remember who's the one that's lying, okay? Let's just remember that. Just to remind us.
Stack cash, spending fast, man.
Well, yeah, I can't really, that's... moving on. So that segues naturally into the,
of course,
yesterday's series of events, which were the town halls, and let's kind of give the audience a little bit of context as to why this happened. So obviously, last night was supposed to be a debate. It was supposed to be the second of 3 scheduled debates by the Presidential Debate Commission, but because Trump had contracted COVID, and I don't know, Don, if we covered that. We probably didn't cover that at all.
No, we didn't.
Donald Trump got COVID-19, which to some people was well-deserved. To other people, just not cool at all. I mean, you never wish that on anybody. Mm-hmm. But, soon afterward, pretty much days after he got the positive test result, he was out of the hospital. He was taking laps outside Walter Reed. He was, just going to rallies just days after. And so he's more or less doing everything that he used to do, but he's been very cloistered. He's been very shelled up about when was his last negative test. And I think the fact of the matter is there's a good chance if he took a test today, there would still be high enough concentration of COVID in his system to come out as a positive result. And that's why he's not disclosing that information. But the debate commission was like, you know what, it's too much of a risk. It's too soon after his return from the hospital. President Trump, if you would like, we can do this debate, but you have to do it virtually. Trump is like, nah, no way. No, not a chance. Trump did not want to do a virtual debate. Biden was down. Biden for sure would do it. But because they said, the Republican Party said, no, we're not going to do this, they decided to come up with contingency plans. And Biden was the first one to have a deal with ABC to do a town hall. And it happened to be the same time as the debate was supposed to be happening. On the flip side, Trump is like, no, we're going to get all the ratings. I know a little bit about ratings. I'm going to steal everything from Biden. Watch this. So he calls up his friends at NBC. And for those that know, NBC did the show Apprentice, where Donald Trump really, I would say, kind of rose to, TV fame. I think prior to that, Trump wasn't really well known as like a TV person. Of course, he was well known as a businessman, but that show really put him up there. Like, oh yeah, look, there's Donald Trump. There's the boardroom, and there's the you're fired and all that. So, he called up his friends at NBC. They hooked him up with a similar time slot. There was a lot of overlap there, which was controversial. And I thought it was funny because a lot of Hollywood celebrities, a lot of big-time producers, directors, whatever, they all signed this huge letter saying, NBC, please reconsider this. Don't broadcast the town hall with Trump at the same time as the town hall with Biden, because people need the opportunity to listen to Biden, and listen to him fully without being distracted by Donald Trump.
And then NBC's like, nah, we're going to get the ratings. We're good.
Absolutely. Exactly. And they came up with some response like, oh, well, Biden had a similar town hall at the same time a couple weeks ago, and so it's only fair that we give Trump the same opportunity, completely kind of ignoring the elephant in the room. Well, yeah, Biden has another town hall at the same time. But I digress from the logistics of it. I want to get your opinion, Don. I don't know if you watched both or just the Trump one, but what did you think overall, man? What did you think of last night?
So I only watched one of them. I was actually watching the Dodgers last night, not watching the town halls. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you stand on the issue. So I was able to watch Trump's town hall during my lunch break today, and it was good. I think the moderator, or is that the right term for the town hall? Like the speaker, the controller, moderator, whatever you want to call it, did a good job of at least matching energy levels with Trump. She was able to reel him in whenever possible. I think there were some obvious biases that could be heard and seen throughout the whole town hall, but Trump was able to finally denounce white supremacy. That was one thing. I find his his lack of knowledge on QAnon, I don't know the right term, QAnon, to be somewhat misleading, and playing dumb to something that's quite obvious.
Okay, let's hang on right there. I want to talk about both of those things. Let's first talk about the white supremacy. Now,
I denounce white supremacy. Did you not hear me? I said, are you going to denounce white supremacy? Yeah, I just said I denounce white supremacy.
So a couple of things about this. Before the town hall.
Yep. You were hanging out with your boy Trump. You were, hitting that line, riding Air Force One with them. Got it? Uh-huh.
I would never do such a thing.
Hey, really quick. Sorry, quick segue.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Even if it's Trump, are you serious? You wouldn't go on Air Force One if given the opportunity?
No, I would.
There we go. Okay, all right. That was it.
Yeah, right. Hell yeah.
Yeah, all right, me too. I'm just saying. Exactly.
Hey, I'm Instagram living
while rocking Air Force Ones. I'm just saying, you gotta. All right, but go on. All right, we're going about white supremacy.
I think with Trump, I know there's been a lot of talk about him not clearly denouncing white supremacy, and the reporters, they seem to get up on him every single time about this ever since that first debate, where he brought up stand by and stand down. Yeah. Right, something like that, referring to the Proud Boys. People thought it was kind of ambiguous, and people thought he might have even be kind of subliminally supporting them. And I looked into it, And I found that before, he did in fact talk about the whole, the whole tragedy that happened in Charlottesville, the protesters from both sides. He was referring at the time specifically about the statues, and then the quote was kind of taken out of context. And I found that very interesting because...
As it always is.
It always is, but I guess somebody brought to my attention a YouTube clip that kind of demonstrated this. Like, I guess a reporter was asking people on the street, like, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And some anti-Trump guy was like, oh, Trump loves white supremacists. He never denounced them. And this lady reporter is like, oh, no, that's not true. If you watch the full clip, he clearly says, I denounce white supremacy. And that part is never broadcasted in mainstream media. And I thought that was interesting because I would expect at least seasoned politicians, even on the Democratic Party, to at least acknowledge that or to be cognizant of that. But Kamala Harris echoed the same thing that misinformed gentleman on the street had said. And I thought to myself, why is this the case? Why is it that, quotes are... Yeah, go ahead.
No, and I think, to build off of what you were going to finish right there, I apologize.
Yeah.
Not really. I'm more right than you. Go Team D. It's like what we would do.
You are more right than me. You are more right than me.
We both know the truth, so I'm not going to say anything on that
end. Sorry, go ahead.
It's like how we write our essays, man. Whenever you want to reference something, you go to something that goes along with what you had initially written down, just to strengthen your argument. I think that media, just in general, including social media, TV media, written media, what have you, our media, we're going to take a stance that supports our ability to be more right and more correct. Stop saying the word right, because someone's taking it out of context a bit here. More correct than that of the person you're conversing with or arguing with me and A all the time. Do I blame them? Sure. Can I blame them? Probably not, because I'm guilty of doing it myself.
I mean, it is true. We all do that in different contexts and different situations. And I thought it was interesting, though, that prior to the town hall, when Trump was asked, when the press secretary was asked, they would always kind of say, oh, Trump has said that before. I don't have to repeat myself. Sure. It's been done. And I thought that they took that position for two reasons. Number one, if Trump is really going to call out the Proud Boys, white supremacists, and all these other, right-wing extremists, in a way, by calling them out and bringing attention to them, he's also, in a way, not bringing attention to the left-wing extremists, which he always touts as Antifa, right? And I think from a political strategy, you don't want to bring more awareness to the right-wing extremists from your own faction and not really bring down the other party. You always want to find a way to paint the other wing's extremists as far worse than yours.
Yeah, definitely. Don't focus on my issues, focus on theirs.
That's right.
It's like, you're point the spotlight at my pearly whites, not at the guys behind me that have pitchforks, flags, and white hoodies.
That's right. And you also have to look at, part of Trump's voter base. I'm not saying everybody, but part of Trump's voter base is, you could say, maybe rejuvenated and revitalized by some of these vitriolic statements that Trump likes to make.
Strong word usage. Were you looking at the dictionary today?
I don't own a dictionary, but I own my brain. I own my mind. And I'm able to process information on the fly very quickly. And it's something that I hope that you develop in the next 10
Very
years.
slow. It's very slow. Like I said, I ran out of coal about 30 minutes ago. So
I know. Don't worry.
I'm seeing a hill coming up right now. So
I'm overnighting you a FedEx shipment, so hopefully you'll get it by tomorrow. You'll be good for tomorrow.
Hey, bring a shovel too. I think I lost that on the way.
yeah. I'll bring you a tiny little shovel to scoop up that coal. But yeah, I think for Trump, he doesn't want to alienate any part of his base, and if one part of his base does resonate with that kind of rhetoric, then it's in his best interest to not be so clear and explicit about putting down the Proud Boys or putting down any kind of right-wing group that may have those kind of values, those closet white supremacist values. So it was twofold for me. But I think, and you touched on this earlier, the moderator, I think her name is Savannah or Samantha. I forget what her name is exactly. But the NBC...
Wow. Such disrespect.
Oh, what's her name, Don?
You know what? I'm going to let you go ahead and continue.
While you look that up on Google. So, so basically, the moderator, I thought that they had some kind of connection there. I think they knew each other from the past. They might be friends, who knows, because Trump was very much, I don't want to say smitten, but I think Trump was very much happy to be talking to her. Let's just put it that way. And the moderator was also exceptional. She did a fantastic job, but I think
Savannah.
So I was right. Yeah, it took you like 10 minutes to Google.
Fat fingers, bro.
I know. So Savannah did a great job basically pressing Trump. And you and I both agreed about this earlier. I think she knew that she can get away with more. She can get away with, talking back to him, with pressing him on questions that he doesn't fully answer the first time around. And I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you got to do it. Not only, if we apply this outside of even just presidential level debates or town halls or just, anything. Conversation-wise, it's always good to, basically get in the shoes of the other person and speak to the level that they are known to speak, and communicate with them in the way they, I would argue, normally communicate.
Absolutely. And for that reason, I always try to speak to you at a 6th grade level.
Hey, dude, like I said, dictionary, man. I don't even know what word you said earlier. I don't know what the fuck that means. Hey, listeners, do you know what the hell that word meant? Like, I'm sure Arjun doesn't even know what word he spit out.
And Don also has goldfish memory because he forgot the word.
Yeah, what is the word?
Vitriolic.
It sounds like a Russian word. Are you sure? What, you been hanging out with Putin again?
Putin again? My friend, I have never been to St. Petersburg. I have never been to the Kremlin. But, I've heard that...
Vitriolic. All right, hold on. Let's see what this... Oh, what do you think it means, by the way?
Oh, it's just, just really critical and just negative... heartfelt negative reaction.
All right, there we go. Filled with bitter criticism or malice. Okay, I'll give you that one. A solid word. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, instead of Art of War, this is a special edition. We're going to do Word of the Day. This is a special segment only for the D, because the D is clearly expanding his vocabulary. Man, I'm just saying. Hey, by the way, let me do a spotlight sip. Doing the brewery. Pie Happy. Clocking in at 16.5. It is an ale aged in bourbon barrels with apples, vanilla, and spices. Dude, this shit is delicious, by the way. It's like apple pie.
Oh, that sounds
good.
With
a nice toasty, if you like a little bit apple pie with a little more cinnamon, then probably should be added in.
Sure.
This is your drink. I'm about 90% through the bottle. Feeling real good. Not looking forward to tomorrow morning, but we'll see where it takes me. But by golly, this is a double D and a half. It's a solid beer.
That's solid it? Beer. Just a double D and a half?
I'm just saying, it takes a lot to impress me, man. Like Savannah, she impressed me.
Okay.
Her ability to almost control and quiet Trump at times is a job in and of itself, and to be able to do that in front of a live audience and in front of the whole nation that was likely watching Trump rather than Biden, It speaks levels. I think she gained some stock value there in what she can do, and good for her.
So. I think so. But I want to touch on something that you mentioned to me before. We haven't talked about it in the podcast.
Sure.
But do you think it was a strategic decision by NBC to have her be the moderator as opposed to somebody else?
Sure. It could have been. I don't know. The only political alignment I know of when it comes to media outlets is Fox. So when it comes to NBC, ABC, whatever, what is it? NBC is what, channel 4 for us?
Yeah, 4.
It's odd because to me, SNL is also on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
And SNL goes to town when it comes to making fun of the Republican Party. Yet they were able to host Donald Trump and give him the airways over Joe Biden. I mean, I think it just goes to show that money speaks, and choosing someone that could match the wavelength of Trump would allow, I think would actually be less entertaining than if they were to pick someone like Chris Wallace who couldn't control the situation. My 2 cents.
Oh, you think doing what NBC did was less entertaining?
Yeah.
Then okay.
Yeah, I'd say pick someone that would fuel Trump, right? Anger him some more, or pick someone that can completely be steamrolled by Trump and to garner the ratings and get him to say something that he doesn't want to, be recorded saying.
To that effect, I actually thought that Savannah did a fantastic job because there was one point where Trump actually felt really frustrated. He was like, "Well, you're doing this to me. I know you. You're asking me this question."
Well, doesn't he say like, "Oh, cute" or some shit like that?
Well, he said that too. I definitely caught that one because she basically responded to Trump saying, "Oh, why don't you ask Biden this? Why don't you ask Biden this?" And she's like, "Well, because you're here in front of me." And then
he's
Trump
like, "Oh, that's cute."
Like, "Oh, that's cute." So I thought from that perspective, like, she did a good job, and
I think
she was the right person for the job.
She definitely did a good job. I think when it comes to ratings wise, I don't think she did a good job.
I doubt that, man. I think that segment.
Man. You want viral clips, man. You want me in my drunken state. Like, I don't even remember what the hell we talked about for the past 30 minutes. I remember Chris Paul here and there, and I remember Fly on Pence.
You know why you remember those 2 things? Because those are the points that you brought up.
Well, then, exactly. See?
That's hilarious. Go ahead,
It's like, you want memorable segments. Mm-hmm. There are memorable segments, but it would be more on how the moderator, Savannah, kind of dealt with the pit bull of Donald Trump. I would say you would, depending if you're left wing or right wing, would want Donald Trump to be at the forefront of it all. You wouldn't want to be speaking about the moderator. I don't know.
I mean, well, I think it's important to note that this was a town hall and not a debate.
Oh, come on. We all treated it like one.
I know, I did. I thought it was a debate between the moderator and Trump.
Yeah.
As is usual.
Exactly.
For him. But you bring up a great point. Sometimes it's really about having great segments, and sometimes it's about having a great episode. And we actually have something very special planned for next week's episode. I know. We are going to have our first ever guest for the podcast, and we'll keep the guest a surprise for now, Don. Just to kind of.
I think so. I think it's good. It'll be good for our friend.
I think so, and I'm sure our friend will be a very critical component to the entire episode's events.
It just clicked. Yeah, I will.
Yeah, you will. I think so.
Yeah, and I think for our listeners out there, if you have anything specific you'd like us to converse on with our guests, just to see how we vibe with, a third party. We'll call him the what color shall we give them? The
color?
Yeah, the gray party, because they'll be in the gray side. I don't know.
What's
sure. Nice neutral color.
Let's go with gray.
Gray
sure.
Gray side to Arjun's red and my blue side.
And of course, the red that he's referring to is the real red-blooded American.
All right, you know what? Wait. Well, what are you? Are you black or white on the yin yang side? Do you remember? You're on the white side.
I'm on the white side because I'm darker than you.
There we go. Yeah. There we go.
That's right.
So the black side, white side. Now we have the gray side. Again, listeners, if you have anything, you'd like to, hear us talk about with a neutral third party, somewhat neutral, depends. Third party. Let us know. We're going to be recording this Wednesday, for sure Wednesday. It may be a little bit later than usual, given it will. Arjun's timetable. But with that, if we do have any shifts in schedule, and we haven't talked about this, but I'll just say it now. If we do have any shifts in time schedule, I promise at least to come up with a new intro song, a new updated intro song that could reflect those changes. It may just be a re-recording over the same track.
It may just be like Dawn dubbing over my name.
Yeah, I'll just say it while it's fucking going.
Like, how does the beginning go again? Fuck, I forget the song already. But you'll just go like
SoCal DNA coming in live. Is it going to be like just me showing like
11
11 p.m. on a Saturday evening?
Yeah, you won't even say night. You just say evening to make it super awkward and just confusing for the audience.
I'll even hit pause and everything. It'll be great.
I feel you. So that's a little teaser for the fans out there, for the longtime listeners. And again, we want to say thank you so much for following us on Spotify. It meant a lot to us to be able to get on that platform, and we will continue being on that platform as long as they'll have us. And we may have some interesting episodes even beyond next week. Maybe some things with music that we'll get into a little bit more later on. So definitely stay on the lookout for that. But again, thank you for joining us on a Friday night this time, a lovely Friday evening. And we hope that everyone is staying safe, being COVID secure, not injecting bleach and warm sunlight heat into their veins. And, until next time, take care, everyone.
Blue Side D, out.